Well, First Family, today I'm joined by Jim and Anita Burr. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Very good. Yourself?
Doing great. Thanks for giving me some time today. Jim and Anita are from the Houston area, and they're well versed in what's been going on with Hurricane Harvey. And they've been attending First Family this summer and I just found out a few days ago, they're from Houston and are headed back there. And so I wanted to interview them and just take some time for you to kind of hear their heart as perhaps you, First Family, think about getting trained on September 16th with our disaster relief and heading down there to be boots on the ground to help. These guys can give us some real insight to that. So Jim, Anita, tell me and tell us, what are you guys headed back to when you go back to Houston at the end of the month?
Well, one of the things is that this storm had a lot of different facets. The wind and the initial landfall down in around Brockport, and that town was really hit very hard. And then we had 36 to 50 inches of rain, a deluge that just came down and did a lot of flooding. And now what we've got, and people don't necessarily think about it, is reservoirs that are northwest of town are having uncontrolled release of water that's going to go down through, among other things, the Buffalo Bayou, which goes right through Houston. And so they think it'll be several weeks before that flooding is resolved.
So the water is still on the rise.
Oh, yeah.
Through the city, yeah. Although the downtown portion, I think, is in pretty good shape right now, but there's still a lot of residential areas that are underwater. There's a fella down there that mows our yard, and he had 6 feet of water in his house.
6 feet.
And last year, he had 3 feet of water in his house.
So you were telling me that in your yard, you're 30 or 35 minutes away from
Right.
Houston downtown, correct?
Yes.
And yet you're required to put in a certain kind of drain in your yard for this very reason. Is that correct?
Right, we have what they call French drains, and they are drains in the backyard, and they run the water around through and down to the street underground. And then that water goes into a retention pond that is in our subdivision, and then that water is, under normal times, is used for watering the common areas.
A lot of these communities have levees. We have to have a levee. Texas is so flat. And so when you get water, hopefully, if it gets up fairly high, the levee will take care of it. In our neighborhood, our community, the levee was built for 57.5 feet high. It was projected that it would crest at 59 feet. That was downgraded. It actually crested at 56, I think. So if that had come over the levee, if that levee had breached, we would have water. We were under mandatory evacuation ourselves. We felt pretty hopeless up here and helpless. And, it was really sad thinking that a lot of our neighbors had moved out of their homes. They had put things up on their, elevated a lot of things and taken them out of there. It's just, we know so many people down there that were hurting, and the threat of hurting was just more than you could hardly bear.
And it's not just the water. Water treatment plants have been knocked out. There's something, I read something the other day that said 13 toxic waste areas, the storage areas, were flooded or damaged. And so these are going to be ongoing problems. There are a lot of places where there's no drinking water.
The fire ants are coming up.
Really?
A lot of mosquitoes. They're spraying all over for mosquitoes right now. It's lingering things. If you can get back into your house, there's a lot of cleanup. They're having to cut the drywall off. There are a lot of yards that have carpet and furniture piled up between their sidewalk and the street, ready to be picked up. And so major efforts are underway to get volunteers to come and do that. It's not a pleasant job, but people are doing it. They're showing up.
So this is not just a short term, let's go feed some people, house them for a week. You're talking long term help is needed. Is that right?
Right, there are something like 13,000 houses or more that are completely destroyed, a couple 100,000 that are damaged. Houses with mud, in them without the water.
Some businesses have closed, and so people that had their employment there, they have no job anymore. So, it really spins off into many things you've never imagined initially.
And just for the vast, like geographically, I was shocked when you said you live 30 to 35 minutes away, and yet your levee held, but only by a foot or so. So there's other communities with other levees, and they didn't hold, but even as far out as 30 and 35 minutes outside of the center of Houston.
Oh, yeah.
That's just a vast flood.
Well, and where the storm made landfall is about 200 miles southwest or south of Houston. It was a big storm. And of
You were
course,
telling
it
me
just-
it's bigger than, what was it, Sandy and Katrina? Was that what you said?
Some of what I have read says that the projected damages are going to be more than Sandy and Katrina combined. But, you know, right now, they really don't know. Some of the estimates in terms of damage are widely varying.
Houston got 51 inches of rain. We usually in Houston get that much a year.
Wow.
And in our community, I think it was over 30 inches. So the rain stayed for 3 days.
So you're from there, you're headed back there just shortly. Tell us who are non-Houstonians, non-Texans, I mean, what do we need to know? What advice would you give us as you go back into that for some long-term living?
Well, you know, one of the things I would certainly suggest, which I believe is what I understand you're doing, is getting involved with some organization down there. You know, just people rushing down there in an uncoordinated manner is not going to be helpful.
That's good to hear.
And another thing that really kind of struck me the other day is I read a thing, a person was talking about what not to send, said, we don't need overcoats. We don't need sweaters. You know, and so, but basically getting involved with some group down there that can coordinate your activities.
Amen. And of course, pray.
Oh, yeah.
Praying,
For
first
sure.
of all. And, you know, if you ever want to get in touch with us once we're down there, we would like to do
Yeah,
that. We
sure.
like our relationship with the church here.
Amen.
And we want to continue that in some
And
way.
We do plan on coming back here every summer. So we'll be here.
We have a
3
home. We own a home in Ankeny now also, so we're
Well,
committed.
It's been really sovereign that God has crossed our paths. And just even last week, hearing more of your story, and then this interview here, I just have learned a lot. And I'm so thankful that God has possibly used this to give us a contact there. And I want to encourage you, First Family. If just meeting the Burrs has prompted your heart to say, yeah, I want to go and I want to help, you have to be trained and certified to assist in disaster relief. And we're doing that here September 16th. So I hope you'll sign up to come. You can go to the website on the screen here and make sure you're there and fill out the forms, be at the training. And as Jim said, work with someone bigger than yourself. And we are working with the North American Mission Board and their disaster relief department. Jim, Anita, thank you so much for giving us some perspective as people who live there and know. Thanks a lot.
Thank
You
you.
betcha.
You're welcome.